Hello and welcome to Disney Movie Investigations, and this is another one of our bonus episodes, and this week we are covering the movie Legally Blonde. So for those of you that have never seen our videos before, what we do is each week we take a deep dive into a movie and take a look about how it got made, the story of it, just some interesting trivia facts, as well as the legacy it left or what different projects it spawned. So like I said, this week is Legally Blonde. And this movie was released on July 13th, 2001, and it was directed by Robert Lukatic, and it is based on the novel Legally Blonde by Amanda Brown. And this movie had a budget of $18 million, and its box office return was $141.8 million. So a huge success for this movie. But before we look into the movie itself, let's look at the inspiration behind the movie. So Amanda Brown, who wrote the book Legally Blonde, she had published her novel based on her experiences at Stanford Law School, and she felt that she was totally different than everyone else because she was into fashion. She would read Cosmopolitan, and she just felt that she was different than everyone else, and everyone treated her differently as well. So she wrote a novel based on her experiences, and the novel was quite successful. It was a huge bestseller, and so the movie rights were quickly picked up by MGM. However, the movie studio went through 10 different drafts with numerous leading actresses in mind to play Elle Woods. So they had it was picked up actually in, I think, 1993 is what I read, and it went through several drafts trying to get the perfect script as well as the leading actresses. And some of the leading actresses that were considered were Charlize Theron, Gwyneth Paltrow, Alicia Silverstone, Katherine Hagel, Christina Applegate, Mila Jovovich, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and these were all considered and with different scripts written for the part of Elle Woods for Legally Blonde. However, director Robert Lukatic was insistent on Reese Witherspoon being cast as Elle Woods, and MGM executives, however, were not 100% confident in that choice because Reese Witherspoon had never done a leading part before. This would have been her leading part as a leading actress. Her most notable part up until this point was the MTV movie Election, and it was an independent comedy, so it wasn't like a proven track record with Reese Witherspoon. So Reese Witherspoon had to go through several rounds of auditions and several screen tests before ultimately getting the role. And once she got the role, she actually would go to research the role by going to sorority houses and interviewing different students to kind of get into character. And she didn't tell them what she was doing, but she would tell them that she was doing anthropology research in order to keep it a hush-hush of what she was doing. So now that we kind of know the backstory, let's look at our cast. So we have Reese Witherspoon, like I said, she plays Elle Woods. Luke Wilson plays Emmett Richmond, who is the love interest for Elle Woods. Selma Blair plays Vivian Kensington. Matthew Davis plays Warren Huntington, who is the initial love interest for Reese Witherspoon. We have the legendary Canadian Victor Garber, who plays Professor Callahan. And Jennifer Coolidge plays Paulette. And then Ali Lauder plays Brooke Taylor, who ultimately becomes Reese Witherspoon's client in the movie. So if you take a look at the plot, Elle Woods is a fashionable sorority queen who is dumped by her boyfriend because her boyfriend feels that she is not serious and wants to, the boyfriend, Warren, wants to date someone who's a bit more serious and bit more more traditional in the sense. So in an effort to win him back, Elle Woods decides to follow him to Harvard Law and try and win him back from his new girlfriend, Vivian Kensington. And while she's there, she figures out ultimately that there is more to life than just appearances and beauty. So the following section is we're going to talk about the ending. So this is spoilers if you have never seen this movie. But originally the film ended with the courthouse after Elle had won the case with Brooke Taylor. And the film would cut to a year later where Vivian had started the Blonde Legal Defense Club. And so it showed her kind of as a second-year law student. When the film did testing, this did not test well. So they needed to re-script the ending. And that's where you get the ending that's in the film currently, where it is it's where they're graduating. And you see the kind of, it's called, I call it like the future telling thing where they do the script, they give the one sentence about what happened to them after the movie. And this new scene actually had to be filmed in London, England, because Reese Witherspoon at that time was on to her next project. She was in London filming The Importance of Being Earnest. So they actually had to fly the cast and crew of the new scene over to London and film in an English college in order to get this scene. So I found that kind of interesting. So like I said, this movie was very successful. It reached a number of awards. So just some of the awards that it won is the movie won the 2001 Teen Choice Summer Movie of the Year. And then the movie and Reese Witherspoon were both nominated for Golden Globes. The movie was nominated for Best Musical or Comedy in 2001, and as well as Reese Witherspoon was nominated for Best Female Actress in a Musical or Comedy. And then Reese Witherspoon herself won MTV Movie Awards. She won 3 of them for Best Comedic Performance, Best Dressed, and Best Line. So Reese Witherspoon has gone on as well to say that this several both females and males actually have by seeing this movie, they've been inspired to become law students. People that normally would not have tried to become lawyers or potential law students just based on superficial things like appearances or not fitting into the traditional mold. So I think the legacy, one of the important parts of the legacy of this movie is that it generates future law students and people that not the traditional mold, but are still equally valuable to the law profession. So I think that's really good. This movie was heavily criticized by legal scholars about its inaccuracies. What I say to that, it's a movie, get over it. You're always going to have inaccuracies no matter what you do. Like something's not going to be accurate, but the more important aspect is the story. So yeah. And then this Legally Blonde has developed into quite a franchise. So it has spawned 2 sequels. The first one being Legally Blonde Red, White, and Blue. And this is a direct sequel where Elle Woods, again played by Reese Witherspoon, goes to Washington to get a bill passed to ban animal testing. And this one actually co-stars Sally Field in this movie as well. And then there was a direct-to-video sequel called Legally Blondes. And this was like I said, a direct-to-video sequel. And the story is that moving from England to California, the young cousins of Elle defend themselves against the opposing school force for a crime that they did not commit. So it's a private school kind of drama, and it features 2 British teens. And the connection to the first one is that they're the cousins of Elle Woods from the first film. And then it was announced a couple months ago that Legally Blonde 3 is being developed. And actually, Mindy Kaling is one of the screenwriters on it, and it is set to be released in 2022. I don't know if that date is still accurate because of COVID. But yeah, as of right now, it's set to be released in 2022. And I couldn't find anything to say if Reese Witherspoon is participating in this or not. When I went to IMDb, it didn't say anything about that. It just said that Mindy Kaling was a screenwriter for this. In terms of a television show, they did attempt to do a Legally Blonde TV show. A TV pilot was filmed in 2003, and it was shown to NBC executives. They did pass on the project, but if you are really interested, if you go to YouTube, the pilot is in its entirety on YouTube. And essentially what the series would have been is it would have taken place during Elle's law school years, and it would show kind of adventures that she would encounter while being a law student. And then there was an MTV musical special called Legally Blonde, the Musical. And it was a made-for-TV musical aired in MTV on 2007. And essentially it was a shortened down version of what the musical would become. And then as well as there was a reality series that kind of tied the MTV musical to the musical that we're going to talk about in a minute. But the reality competition series called Legally Blonde, the Musical, The Search for Elle Woods. And this aired on MTV in 2008. And essentially the show was a competition series where the winner would get to play the role of Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, the Musical on Broadway. And they had to do different competitions like singing contests, and I'm sure acting contests, stuff like that. The winner was Bailey Hunks, as she was the winner, and this kind of started off her Broadway career. She played Elle Woods for 1 year on Broadway, and then kind of did other musical roles spawning off from that. And then, of course, there was the stage musical. So Legally Blonde, the Musical, debuted in 2007 on Broadway. It received several Tony nominations. It didn't win anything, unfortunately. And then it is a staple favorite of community theaters all over Canada and the United States now. I know where I grew up in Calgary, Front Row Center, did a Legally Blonde, the Musical, did a production of Legally Blonde, the Musical. And then finally, there was several novels based on the movie, and they were written following the film, and they were aimed at teen readers. And essentially, they'd be different kind of little adventures that Elle had during her days as a law school student. And I think there's a series of like 5 or 6 of these novels out there. So yeah, that's Legally Blonde. I think this is a great movie, great comedy. It really kind of holds up to this day. As well as you have Reese Witherspoon. I think this was her breakout performance that kind of made her a household name. She would go on after this to do June Carter in the Johnny Cash movie, Walk the Line. And then it kind of cemented her as a kind of a real player in Hollywood. And then I just think the supporting cast is really good. I think Victor Garber is really good as Callahan. Selma Blair as Vivian is really good. Jennifer Coolidge is really hilarious as the kind of the pedicure lady. And then the bend and snap thing was still funny to this day. So definitely, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's quite funny. It is family friendly as well for the most part. So there's no real scenes in there that would be that you would need to shy your kids away from. So yeah. And then I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what they do with Legally Blonde 3. So I don't have anything in terms of my Disney collection for Legally Blonde, but this was a selection from Kate, one of my, she's a friend as well as a supporter on DMI. She does a lot of the posts for us. So I thought I would share something with me and Kate, if you can see this. So this is a photo that me and Kate took while we were both international program people at Walt Disney World. And this was a frame that was given to me at our time when we went to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So again, thank you, Kate, for all the work that you do, and I hope you enjoyed the Legally Blonde video that we've done. And for everyone else, thank you so much for watching. Our next case file is we're going to go back to Disney and go back to the movies featured on Disney Plus, and we are going to do actually a movie that's part of the Fox Films library, and this we're going to take a look at Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip. So I hope to see you guys on the next video, and hope you guys are having a great day, and Happy New Year.